Welcome to the Blockchain All-Star Series. I'm your host, Layla Gulen. Blockchain and distributed ledger technology are at the forefront of the Internet 3.0 era, where the technology can enable trusted and transparent sharing of data and digital assets. Though the technology is still in its early stage, who makes up the constellation of innovators guiding us through the digital revolution powered by blockchain? Well, today's guest, Winston Ma, attorney and certified financial advisor who co-founded CloudTree Ventures, a seed to early growth stage venture capital firm empowering interactive entertainment companies. Well, for 10 years, Winston was managing director and head of the North American office for China Investment Corporation, which is China's sovereign wealth fund. Winston is also an adjunct professor at NYU Law School and the author of several books, including The Digital War: How China's Tech Power Shapes the Future of AI, Blockchain, and Cyberspace, and will be releasing his latest book later this year, Blockchain and Web3, Building the Cryptocurrency Privacy and Security Foundations of the Metaverse. We are so lucky to have him with us here today. Winston, it's great to see you.
Thank you. Thank you, Layla.
So what I didn't mention is that you are also a nationally certified software programmer. My first question, I think, is there anything that you don't do?
Yeah. Actually, my wife is always asking, when do you want to be a doctor, a medical doctor?
Yes. There's so much more on your CV that I didn't mention. So why don't we just start at the beginning? First and foremost, if you can tell us, where were you born? Where were you raised?
Sure. Yeah. I was born in Suzhou, China, which is very close to Shanghai. It's like half an hour away by speed train. So naturally, I went to Shanghai for my undergrad and law school, at Fudan University in Shanghai. So I was mostly living in the southern part of China before coming to the States. And then later, because of CIC, I got the chance to live in Beijing for a few years, which is great for me to get a full picture of China.
Yes, indeed. And would you say that you followed in anyone's footsteps growing up? Was there anyone in your life that inspired you to take one particular path versus another?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. And I think I'm very lucky to live through a couple of decades of rapid economic transformation. So to your question, actually, it feels like the role models keep changing. So like when I started at the Fudan University for my undergraduate studies, I just like the Chinese students of that generation, it was to study abroad. Actually looking back, right now it looks so natural, right, for Chinese students to come to the States or Europe to get a global education and then go back to China. In the 1990s, that was still the early wave of that cross-border studies and career. So at that time, I guess my role model was the early generation of Chinese students studied abroad. Just like the president of the Fudan University at that time was Madam Xie Xide. Yeah, she was a MIT PhD graduate. Many years ago, and then she returned to China, and then later become the president of the university that I studied. Right?
That's incredible. Wow, yeah. Talk about coming full circle, and right. I do want to ask you about that path, that process of studying abroad. And but first, let's establish the degrees that you've received throughout your academic career. And so you've received from a number of universities. So maybe you can tell us, starting from your bachelor's all the way up through your master's and law degree.
Sure thing, Layla. The first thing, obviously, it was a very costly journey to go through all the universities.
I can imagine.
If I'm in the university today, I would just like the new generation. They were follow the Harvard dropouts as their role models. It's more directly into the industry, and it saves a lot of money. But for me at that time, education was a way to change your life trajectory, right? So that was the background of my multiple degrees. I started as an undergrad student in the material science major, and computer science was very young in China at that time. So there were very few software programmers in China, such that the central government, the state council, actually set up a national exam to qualify, to certify people for software programming. So I took a lot of computer science classes, and I sat in the national exam for a day, and then I received a certification saying that I'm a software programmer. Now, of course, today, like in China, you have millions of students graduating from top universities every year, and they by default they're software programmers. But back in '90s, that was the situation. And so from there, I went to law school because I wanted to be the first generation IT digital economy lawyer, but that was a bit too early, right? So '97, I graduated. I got a scholarship from NYU Law School, so I came to the States for Master of Law at NYU. So a year later, I passed the New York bar. I became a Wall Street lawyer, at Davis Polk, New York. I was there for 3 years because the quantitative and the digital background is always there, right? So I went to U Michigan for MBA studies to transition into investment banking and the business fields, and that's sort of the complete journey of science, Chinese law, U.S. law, and MBA finance, right? And in today's digital economy, especially in the context of U.S.-China cross-border opportunities, right? You need all these backgrounds to put the whole story together.
That's interesting that you say that, because I was going to ask, when you first stepped into the professional world, what was sort of your first passion? But it really sounds like it's an amalgamation of all of your passions, that it's not just practicing law, but it's also finance and the digital aspect of finance.
Exactly.
So you were very early on in its nascence, at the forefront of this industry. So how did you manage? I mean, did you kind of have an internal crystal ball that you knew that this was going to be something big one day?
No. In some way, it is very similar to blockchain ventures today. It's like you sort of have a big picture, but you have to test a lot of a new technology and new business models, right? So during my process, it was partly by design, partly by chance, that I eventually found a way that I can put all my different diverse backgrounds into useful context and work on those things in an organic way, right? And so I'm very lucky to be in the digital economy today, because this for today's digital economy, right? You definitely need to have tech background to understand the actual hard tech aspect, like a blockchain, right? And these new tech innovations also have financial attributes, like the linkage between cryptos and the blockchain tech, right? And finally, digital economy is now increasingly subject to more and more regulations, but both from the tech side, for example, data privacy, as well as the financial side, right? For example, the stablecoin regulation or the crypto trading regulation, DeFi regulation. So in order to be effective in today's blockchain economy, you sort of need all three pillars, the finance side, the legal side, and the tech side.
Yes, yes, and you're all that wrapped into one package. And I'd like to know just what your thoughts are on the current state of blockchain technology and cryptocurrency and its trajectory as we start heading into the latter part of 2022. I mean, these things, they tend to move at light speed. So we're looking at these changes happening on a daily basis. By the time 2023 rolls around, what do you expect to see?
Yeah, and I think the big change after the pandemic about the blockchain world is that the blockchain the blockchain economy has gone into the mainstream. That's a very big change. Right? So before 2020, it was a very small community. I got a little touch on it, because in the early years, because at the CIC, after Wall Street, I went to CIC, China Sovereign Wealth Fund. So I become a tech investor, right, at CIC. So I got the early exposure into the digital revolution last decade. And during that process, I also got to the exposure to Bitcoin and blockchain in the early years. Mm-hmm. Mm. And also the sovereign fund aspect also gave me another perspective on the blockchain economy, which is the sovereign digital currency. Right, for sovereign fund like China or in Singapore, etc. The blockchain story is not only about a new sector, a new tech sector to invest in, but also maybe more profoundly is about the implication to the sovereign digital currency and the cross-border transactions, which may lead to a different scenario of sovereign balance sheet, which will have implications, on the sovereign funds, kind of the asset holdings itself. So all these backgrounds sort of give me the perspectives on this blockchain economy. Now back to my initial headline, right? It's getting mainstream. Mainstream in the sense that today you have, number one, from a individual side, you have a lot more retailers participating into this, and secondly, from the regulatory perspective, since more and more retail investors and institutional investors are coming in, regulators like SEC, Federal Reserve, CFTC, right? They are taking a much more active role. Looking at the landscape and contemplating on regulations, and then finally at the nation state level, right? More and more countries are looking at this. As I mentioned, right? The sovereign funds probably have the early touch on this, but now the nation states are taking a close look at blockchain, crypto, and the digital currency, and we'll see how this will influence their own economy as well as cross-border transactions.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because you've mentioned in other interviews that the Chinese government needs to think about creative ways to get more digital yuan users. So what do you think are some of the biggest challenges right now, and what would it take to overcome those challenges to make it more mainstream?
Yes, great question. You see, one way to look at the blockchain economy is to say it's a potential convergence between the mobile internet and the blockchain tech world. In the past, these two things are pretty much separate, right? On one hand, for the blockchain tech world, you have a lot of passionate supporters of Bitcoin, and maybe a bunch of programmers that can do coding on blockchains, and some of the people may even participate in DeFi, decentralized finance, which provides some similarity to the traditional finance, attracting some users. But overall speaking, right, the Bitcoin supporters, the programmers, and the DeFi users, they are a relatively small community. But at the same time, the mobile internet, right, after last decade's boom, thanks to the spread of smartphone, it's a huge it's a huge community, several billions. So in terms of this digital currency situation in China, right? It is very similar to any other blockchain applications that are being generated every day. The question is, how do you make that connection? You come up with a great application out of blockchain technology, but how can you connect this with the billions of average internet users? For the average users, they understand what internet is, but they don't know what blockchain is, right? So in the case of the digital currency, it's a new thing, it's a great thing coming out of the blockchain technology, but it will take a lot of innovative marketing, education, etc., to get to the billions of ordinary internet users to sign up.
Well, when you think about just the internet itself over the last 20 years, starting in the late 90s, let's say, and just how quickly things developed, we had smartphones in our hands by the early aughts, which, they were primitive compared to what we've got today, but they were there, which is really kind of
remember the big iPhone? Remember the big like
I had one. It was too big. I may as well just carry it around a laptop, But when you think about just how very quickly the internet grew, and then now we're talking about blockchain cryptocurrency and its mainstream use, would you see that same upward trajectory of use in this, or do you think it's taking a little bit longer because people are a little leery, I guess, maybe of how secure it is, how its usefulness? What do you think is kind of the global challenge now when we talk about those two things?
Great question. And this really is the $1 trillion question, right, for the crypto industry. There are several hurdles there, but it's interesting to see the NFT development last year, which provides you some perspective on the possibility that some new innovation may just come randomly, unexpectedly, that will bring blockchain and crypto into the mass market. So first, let's talk about the challenges. Right, the challenges are very obvious. Number one, we already commented on, is about the complexity of this new technology. Right, internet is very easy to understand, blockchain much less. And secondly, it is about the usage of payment. And mobile internet becomes so widely spread, partly, and I could even argue mostly, because of the popularity of mobile payment. Like in China, Tencent, Alibaba, they spend billions of dollars to promote the usage of mobile payment, and then people, almost 100% of the 1 billion internet users in China have the mobile payment. And then because of the mobile payment, furthermore, right, they can get into a lot more mobile applications, support, like whether it's video, whether it's online novel, whether it's e-commerce, right? Because of the spread of mobile payment, you can promote even more mobile applications. Now here, if relating to crypto, right, there have not been an effective crypto payment mechanism, right? We haven't seen a global payment rail as smooth as the mobile payment. So this limits the spread of blockchain applications, right? And the third aspect is about the infrastructure. For blockchain, you need a blockchain kind of native infrastructure to support it. And for a lot of people, right, they may not have that connectivity. For example, like not everyone have a crypto wallet, and it's not very easy to use, right? Things like that. So these are the challenges, but there's some promising aspects coming in. As we see more diversification, more variety of blockchain innovation are emerging, like NFT in 2021, right? It can come out of nowhere, but all of a sudden, a lot of people can participate in NFT. Artists that have never took the exam for software programmer, now they can be part of the NFT community, right? And the musicians and the sports community, right? A lot of these non-tech driven sectors are now become important players of NFT. So this gives you the hope that the innovations will come up. We will see more variety of innovations, and this will lead blockchain applications to the mass market.
Very interesting. I appreciate that perspective. And to sort of switch gears a little bit, and we touched on this a bit, but it's clear that you have both feet planted in two worlds, China and the West. And I'm curious what it is like to be part of those two things separately, but also together.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's fascinating. Let's put this into context. Last decade, right? China and the US represent very different innovation centers. US during the last decade led the boom of smartphone, mobile payment, and e-commerce, right? But China implemented them, copied them to some extent, but then developed the largest mobile internet population. So last 10 years, it was very much a catch up for China for innovation, right? But in the new decade, it's different because in many areas, including blockchain, crypto, right? China and the US are almost are at the same starting line, and as they started they started innovation in very much the same areas. Now, US may still have some advantage on basic blockchain research, right? But in terms of blockchain applications, China has done a lot. Now, here's the interesting bifurcation here. For blockchain, as I mentioned, right, it has a tech aspect and also has a financial aspect. The US China are taking drastically different approach here. Right? China focus on the tech aspect. So in China, you see a lot more technology industry application of blockchain. So for example, supply chain financing for supply chain companies. But in the US, the financial aspect has been more at the front. So here you see a lot more crypto trading, NFT trading, so on and so forth, right? And a crypto payment, etc. So it's great, for me to be able to see two different innovation centers and to keep a track on different innovations.
Yes, I would imagine so. I want to talk a bit about the books that you've written on these varying subjects. So tell us the first book where it all started.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah, I have written 8 books now, believe it or not.
Oh my goodness, 8 books. Wow.
Yeah. So my first book was 2006. The title was Nothing Else, Investing in China. That was the time China was opening up to foreign investment, including the CFA system, which allows large U.S. institutional investors like Fidelity, J.P. Morgan, to invest into Chinese domestic market. So that was my first book, and then I started. Then 10 years later, during the internet boom, right, I started my book series actually on China's tech revolution. I started with 2016 book, China's mobile economy. 2016 was the year that China expanded quickly in in smartphone, mobile payment, and the mobile applications. But what I didn't realize that is like there was so much innovation and so much development, so it became a book series. So I published a book every year since 2016 all the way to 2021, just to keep up with the development there. From China's mobile economy 2016 to the 2021 book, The Digital War, right? Yes. How China's tech power shapes the future of AI, blockchain, and the cyberspace. And the difference, the evolution is about the shift of innovation focus by the China market. 2016, the keywords were mobile payment, smartphone, e-commerce, right? Yes. But by 2021, the keywords are AI, data, and blockchain, right? So that's why my latest book will focus on blockchain.
It's amazing though. If I can just interject here, it's when you think about 2016, that was not that long ago. And
exactly.
In a blink of an eye, now we're talking about metaverse and blockchain and AI, and how it has shifted. And what would you credit that shift? Because it takes a lot of teamwork, if you will, a lot of people all on the same page to make that shift happen so quickly. So how do you think that did? Was there one particular thing that was instrumental in changing, in that sea change?
No, I think it's fascinating you put this way. I think in short, the keyword is connectivity. The keyword is connectivity. The connectivity, every time we have a new technology, we say we are now connected and we are now hyper connected. But actually, every several years later, there's always another technology that brings that connectivity to a next level. So I think that's really the keyword for the last 20 years. But when we first started with internet, we were happy with just email, right? And as I said, wow, we did not have to go to the mail office. Our connectivity with everyone is so much faster. We remember that time, right? And then we have the smartphone on the mobile internet. So we're gonna do everything, anywhere, anytime, right? So every time we see something, we order it, we get it right now, right? So that was another layer of connectivity during the mobile internet time, right? And then now we are into the metaverse internet time, right? We say for every activity of us, whether it's physical, whether it's virtual, or maybe somewhere in Neverland, we couldn't even tell, they are all part of this metaverse, right? So it becomes a kind of another further level of connectivity. Now, if you think about these orders, right, I organize this history in 3 waves, and this rhymes with this term Web3, because Web3 is like the 3rd generation thinking. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And so that leads to my next question about your latest book, which is coming out in September, Blockchain and Web3. So please, if you can give us a sneak peek into what that's all about.
Oh, totally. Essentially, what I'm arguing, essentially what I argue in the new book is that the new internet, which should be a better internet, is built on blockchain, supported by cryptos and blockchain security, as well as personal data privacy protection, supported by blockchain and other technologies. So the way to think about it is, again, this three era of internet, right? First you have the basic internet, and for that, the information flow was very basic, and everyone, including you and I, were very passive because we couldn't generate any contents into it, right? We cannot change the internet. Whatever the internet is, you take it, right? And then the mobile internet comes in, and now we have Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, everything, right? So all of a sudden, everyone becomes a content creator, and even grassroots people, can become celebrities, right? So that's a great revolution. But for most of the time, people do not get to the benefit of it, right? You and I can be super popular on Twitter, but we do not get to the benefit of our content creation, right? We cannot monetize it. So for blockchain and Web3, I think the main thing is about the internet of people, and for that it means a couple of things. One is the ownership of the internet, right? You're part of the internet yourself, right? And according to blockchain technology, there's a hope that you can be part of the ownership. If you think of the internet as a big DAO, right? Decentralized autonomous organization. And the second most importantly is about the economic interest, right? If you can organize the Web3 in such a way that the creators can deal with consumers, content consumption users in a more direct way, right? Then all the creators will get a better and more fair economics. And finally, it is about personal data security and privacy, right? In the current internet, we all know that our data belong to the big tech companies, and for Web3, we may have the chance to take those data back to our own hands. From ownership, from economics, from data, all three perspectives, the Web3 should be a better internet.
Do you foresee anybody standing in the way of users being able to monetize? Anybody standing in the way of progression of a Web3 where people can take more ownership over and to be able to monetize what they engage in and what they put out on the internet?
No, of course, the big techs are there, right? And they have vested interests there. In the current world, they have built tremendous profitable walled gardens themselves. Right? So they're not going to give that up, right? What they're trying to do is to bring Web3 features into their existing kingdom. Right? The most important example here, obviously, is Facebook, right? Facebook founder Zuckerberg put so much emphasis on the future of Metaverse that he even changed his company name from Facebook into Meta, right? So when you look at Facebook, it is trying a lot of things to build up a Facebook version of Metaverse, because it already has 3 billion. It already have 3 billion user social network, right? So one thing it is working on is to incorporating its own digital wallet into the 3 billion social network. Actually, in the past, Facebook also tried to develop its own crypto. I call it a big tech crypto, called Libra, right? And as we all know, because of regulatory pressure, Facebook has put an end to that effort. But besides of crypto and the wallet, right? Meta is also trying to put on AR VR technology as a walled garden, right? Because it has Oculus. Has the AR VR thing, so it has its own. It has a inherent advantage, right, to develop a metaverse out of that. So this is an example, just one example, and you also see Microsoft buying Activision, right? $67 billion transaction, biggest ever acquisition in Microsoft history. Why? Because gaming is an important linkage to the metaverse, and Microsoft wants to incorporate more gaming technologies into its empire, such that it may develop an enterprise metaverse. right? So on and so forth. So we will see a lot big tech companies come into the scene, trying to incorporate Web3 features into their existing empire as a way to compete with Web3 native startups.
And I know that AI and a lot of these technologies, they're being used at other much higher levels as well. When we talk about gaming and things like that for the lay person, if you will, all these things are being used for government, in warfare, in other various ways. But, you know, this is a question coming to you from someone who is very much on the outside of that circle.
Right.
Could it ever be a fad? Is it something that you think could fade at some point, or is it too far gone? Are we just on this path and that truly is going to be the future of entertainment, the future of just how people engage with the world, with their neighbors or somebody halfway around the globe?
Yeah, personally, I believe in that direction. I think it's interesting you ask the question this way because blockchain, because Web3 and the Metaverse, right? These two terms sometimes are used interchangeable, just different focus. Like a Web3 probably has a more focus on the internet, on the future of the internet, of the ownership, economics, and the data related to the future internet, right? But Metaverse, I think it's about the human experience, because it's a combination of many verses, right? That's what the word Metaverse means. And that means right? Yeah. So it's about the combination of our physical and virtual worlds, and it is also about our kind of everyday, anytime, anywhere experience going forward. So Metaverse is more about the experience, and I truly believe that the future of the entertainment is in the direction of Metaverse, because in the mobile internet time we have already seen that, right? From in the example of Facebook and TikTok and so on, what you see is everyone wants to be a creator. Not only a consumer.
Everybody thinks they're a star.
Yeah, exactly. And secondly, everyone wants to be a celebrity, right? And thirdly, everyone wants to be an influencer, such that they can monetize their celebrity status. And when you combine all these, right, you're looking at, especially from the young generation, you will see the future internet, driven by the new young generation, will further going down that road, which means the future internet will provide a lot more digital tools for the young generation to create their contents, to promote their celebrity status, and also monetize their influencer status. And this is the direction of the future entertainment.
Oh, very interesting. In the world of fashion, it's winter 2022, and you're already coming out with fall of 2023 fashion ideas. So my next question for you, though, is, so we're talking about Web3. Is there an iteration Web4? And what would that look like, and when would that happen?
Yeah, I would not be surprised if someone will come up with that concept, because as we are talking about 5G network, right? There are already organized research on 6G. We know that. So it will come. Because I think the connectivity, again, back to the concept of connectivity, right? People are still looking for more connectivity. And a more effective connectivity, or your more content-rich connectivity. For that, we will see a lot more innovation coming out. For example, in gaming, right? In gaming, the visual has become much better than before, the AR VR thing, right? But now the next step is to engage all your different senses so that you have this complete immersive experience, right? So I think we are still quite far away from the complete immersive, persistent online merge with offline experience. And so for that, a lot more connectivity innovation will still emerge.
I see. Okay. Well, coming back to 2022. So what do you think is the most promising or exciting field that we should be paying attention to right now and maybe in the next 12 months?
Well, great. Yeah. Since we're coming to the end of the hour, maybe this is a good question to summarize some of the things we talked about and then kind of look forward. I think 2021 has been a year of explosion for blockchain and crypto innovations, right? We have seen the boom of NFT. We have seen the crypto trading go into mainstream, and also we see the emergence, the early version of gaming tokens, right? That combines both gaming and crypto. Which led to a series of big tech acquisitions of gaming companies, including Microsoft buying Activision. So that was 2021. For 2022, I think the biggest story remains to be gaming. And the reason for that is it's a perfect test of the linkage between the blockchain world and the mobile internet world. Gaming has become the biggest media, right? It is bigger than traditional sports, music, and movies combined in 2021. And globally, it is expected to have 3 billion gamers by 2022. So in the coming 12 months, we will see a lot of innovation efforts at the intersection of gaming and blockchain, whether it's blockchain gaming or crypto assets in gaming, in traditional gaming. A lot of innovation will come out. But if some killer app can emerge, actually this will be a big success for the blockchain community, because it will be the ultimate mainstream test. If you can connect the crypto with the 3 billion gamers worldwide.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Well, Winston, I just have a few more questions for you, and these are quick fire questions meant to be fun, and you can give an answer as short as 10 seconds if you wish.
Okay, please.
But so the first one is, do you have any guilty pleasures?
Oh, I do. I watch Go chess games. I like to watch the AI program developed by Google beat the human players in unexpected ways. Yeah.
Very good. What do you wish you knew when you were in your 20s?
Oh, like last week, FIFA, the World Cup, right, announced a partnership with Algorand, a blockchain, as a partnership for the Qatar World Cup. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's a fascinating event. But if I can, I really hope I can go back to 20s, so that I can play soccer at the field again. Yeah.
Oh, very good, very good. So you played soccer when you were young?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Oh, you did. Oh, what position?
It's a funny. I always do the defense side and also the sometimes a goalkeeper. Yeah, because it's a very tough game, right? And the secret to go, the secret for a soccer win is to not to lose the goal first. That's
right. That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah, it's not like NBA. You can get a score next minute. It takes a long time to score, right? So the first thing you do is to not to lose the score. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like hockey.
Precisely.
Right. Yeah. All right. Who is the most impressive, famous person alive today, in your opinion, and why?
Wow. No, that's a very tough one. Like several months ago, I would say Bill Gates, because he created a great company, and then not only that, he also created a great philanthropy, and also his foundation to change the world for better, right? But even a great person like him would have got into personal drawbacks last couple of months, so this is a very important reminder that you have to be modest.
Yes.
Actually, the more successful you are, the more modest you need to be. Yeah.
Oh, I like that. I appreciate that very much. What is the most spontaneous thing you've ever done?
When I was at the MBA, when I went to U Michigan for MBA, right? I had a former Wall Street background, and then when I look at and that was the Enron time. Derivatives was a headline topic. So when they say I should start a derivatives club at the university, and so it's a great experimental thing to do. When you're at school, try something new. Yeah. Actually, by the way, it became a very big club, very successful. It's
Did
a
it
new
really?
club.
Oh.
Yeah, but it was a new club. But within a year, it became the same size as the traditional finance club, the oldest club of the business school. Yeah.
Oh goodness! Oh well, congratulations! That's a wonderful thing to have. Oh goodness!
Yeah, because at the school, right? It's you can do a lot of risk taking, to try new things. Yeah,
this is true. That's what the campus is for, the campus life, and figuring yourself out, figuring out the world, and not being afraid for it to fail.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, Winston, I want to thank you so much for joining us. It's been such a fascinating discussion having you give us your history and your views of what's coming up in the future. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me here, Leila, and thanks for the BSN interview.
Yes. Well, that's going to do it for us on this episode of Blockchain All Stars. We will see you again next time.